Thanks, everybody, and welcome back here to the second portion of our day. This is our opportunity for a series of district leader profiles that we're going to go through. These are short snapshots of district leadership. We wanted to do everybody, as you can imagine, but then our day would go very long, and it would be we sort of felt like we had to kind of pick and choose how are we going to actually bring this to you. So I hope everybody can appreciate the fact that we want to do this with everybody, and as we develop this franchise here at Education Week, we're going to seek new ways of integrating the stories of each of these individual districts, the teachers union folks that have been recognized, transportation directors, and everybody else involved in this mix, from spec ed to excellent work being done in systems, which you're going to find about at the end of this with Mr. Jeffrey Plattenberg. So right now we're going to begin with building bridges and reaching new communities with Michelle Brooks and Michelle Molnar. Ladies, come to the stage.
Welcome back, everybody. My name's Michelle Molnar, and I'm a contributing writer to Education Week. I'm also the author of the K-12 Parents and the Public blog. At this point, we've heard from a wide variety of leaders and leadership team members about how they're adapting to education and declining resources, growing challenges, and increasing competition in the field. Leadership today is more important than ever for the nation's school districts. In this session, we'll take a closer look at leadership as it's practiced by Michelle Brooks from Boston Public Schools, as you know. She is a parent activist, an education organizer, and an advocate whose work of empowering families and transforming the engagement structures and policies of schools and districts spans more than 20 years. Michelle, I'd like to begin with what you think the biggest misconception there is out there about parents and families in school districts today.
Okay, first I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity. I think one of the biggest misperceptions, and I really want to define where. When we look at urban education, urban school districts, one of the largest misperceptions is that parents do not have the capacity to help their children, that they don't have the capacity to be partners in the enterprise of educating children. And I think that that's a myth that needs to be dispelled. I think that regardless to, and research backs us up, and regardless to a parent's socioeconomic status, their level of educational attainment, regardless to where they come from, whether their English is their first language, every parent wants the best for their child. And every parent has in some way the capacity to help their child succeed. From just sending the messages that education is important, working hard is important. With those two messages, it's transformative for students, and it can impact student achievement.
I know you've spoken in the past about the parent also as a customer versus the parent as a partner. And do you think there's too much focus on the parent as a customer?
I think there's a customer service aspect of engaging families. I know when I first started, one of the things that sent me over the edge was the fact that I felt disrespected by the front office staff. And so there's an aspect of customer service, but parents are not our customers. Parents are our partners. And they're our partners because they are the experts on their children. We are the experts on education. And working together, we are partners in the enterprise of developing human beings to become productive citizens, to have successful lives, successful families, and contribute to successful communities.
That sounds wonderful. How much of a difference can parents and families really make in a school district's important work?
Well, given that students come from families and the relationship that families have with schools will have a major impact on how students perceive themselves as learners. So I think it is a major impact that families can have on schools, on school climate. When families feel connected and welcome in schools. They're more apt to connect with schools and to really engage in ways that support student learning. When they feel disconnected and marginalized, and they have bad feelings towards school, and some of that might be their own personal experience, those ghosts that appear when they come into a school based on their own experiences, when we haven't given them an experience that helps to dispel that or give them a new lens in which to experience school, then we can tend to continue to look at parents with a deficit lens. To the extent that we open our schools and we understand that every family has assets, every student has assets, and that we can engage with them to use those assets to support student learning and school improvement, I think that there is a major impact that can happen.
Okay, great. Well, we have a room full of district leaders, so I'd like to ask what the district leader's role is in engaging families.
The district leader's role in engaging families is to really bring the community together around a shared vision. If we really believe that family engagement and student engagement, in our case, is important to impacting student achievement, then we have to not only say, you know, we have a value of that our district's value around engaging families is this. We have to really understand how to embed that systemically so that everyone understands that they have a role in the engagement of families and students, and that their role is connected. Their roles are connected. So what it looks like is not just a value on your key strategies for improving student achievement, but it looks like what's happening in the classrooms and how teacher practice involves engagement. It's not about creating programs and events. It's about building school practice around family engagement, teacher practice around family engagement, and parent practice around engaging as a partner. So it's about building capacity.
And how have you done that in Boston? Would you give me an example or two?
Yeah, I think that we've done it in a number of different ways. Our core mission is around building the capacity of families to engage as partners in improving student achievement and understanding what their children need to know and be able to do and how to support learning at home. And our strategy for that has been Parent University. And Parent University really is focused on the roles of parents that we think are critically important. Parent as teacher. So we help parents understand student growth and development. How do you, what should you expect around your social emotional development of your child? Parents as advocates is really about what should my child know and be able to do? What are my expectations from school? How do my expectations of school get operationalized? And what are the questions I need to ask? How do I navigate the school system, which is major for many parents, especially our parents who are immigrant families who come from cultures where school is looked at very differently. And building the capacity, and also parents as leaders, helping them really see themselves as leaders. They're leaders in their families. And we help them see themselves as leaders in their child's education. The most exciting one is parents as learners, and I think that's very powerful, because when parents rediscover the learner in them, it models for their children how exciting and how beneficial learning is. And when we look at the capacity building on the other side, building the capacity at schools, we've really focused on what's happening in the classroom. In Boston, we're implementing instructional core, and it's about the relationship between the student and the teacher in the presence of content. And we know that there are tons of different levers that impact that relationship. and family engagement is one. So we're helping our teachers really understand how to embed engagement in their classroom practice. How do you engage families in what you're teaching, and how do you help them understand how they can support learning at home? And with students, we're really looking at how do we help students really find their voice and assume greater responsibility for their own learning.
Terrific, thank you. So ideally, how do you think a leader should show his or her commitment to real family engagement?
It's all in what you do. It's how you, I'm trying to remember the phrase about what we measure matters.
Right.
And so we've got to, like Dr. Bryce said earlier, it's not about changing people's mind. It's about giving them something different to do that impacts how they see themselves. So it's about really embedding structures that move the engagement. One of the first things we did in Boston was to connect in our whole school improvement planning. We connected every instructional strategy that schools named to a corresponding family engagement strategy. So if your instructional strategy is about fluency, how will you help parents understand what that is, and how will you give them tools to help move fluency at home? So it's about connecting, making those connections. That's really critical. Helping parents understand that it's not just social, but it's connected to learning and impactful.
And you're doing a lot of connecting in the actual administration from office to office, and you're always making sure that you support what's happening in different offices. So can you describe a little bit of that work, because it's at an administrative level?
Yeah, it's about really helping my colleagues to understand that our work is interconnected. Many districts and bureaucracies work in silos, and I think that the work that we've done around family engagement has really kind of opened up those silos so that folks can see where we connect. And the work is not just our work. Our office is a facilitator. We've defined the work, we've organized ourselves around the work, and we're a facilitator of not our work in the Office of Family and Student Engagement, but the Boston Public Schools. So our work is to build the capacity of everyone in the district to connect with this work and anything that comes down the pike. When we look at the educator effectiveness work, we're connected to that. So how do we help our colleagues in the Office of Educator Effectiveness really do their job better? So what expertise can we bring to bear that will help them do their work better, that will also help us do our work better? So it's about really unpacking the work and figuring out where are the connections, how do we do this in a way that where we're supporting each other's work and we're really making change happen in the district.
That's fascinating. I think everyone will be interested in knowing that when you were hired 4 years ago, there were 23 people in the central office and 31 family and community outreach coordinators in the schools. Today, you have 13, not 23, in the central office, and 24 in the schools, not 31, and you're covered by a $2.9 million budget. And what has this reduction meant for your mission?
It's meant that we've had to really focus, and we've had to not really spread ourselves so broadly, to really focus on what is important, focus on one or two key pieces that are connected in many different ways, so that it's not just us doing that work. And it's also required that we really target the kind of professional development we need in order to do this work in a much more productive way, as well as figure out how we can connect and get allies for this work that will help carry the load.
Okay, wonderful. So how do you get teachers and principals on board to engage families?
I think that In Boston, we embraced the value of the importance of engaging families a long time ago. And so I think that there was not a teacher or a principal in Boston who would not say that family engagement was important. But what we found was they weren't clear about what kind of family engagement and how to go about doing it. So I think what we've managed to do is to provide some successful models and strategies and supports for principals and for teachers. And so as we're looking now and we're having conversations, you know, I told my staff a few years ago, we're going to be in demand, and now we're in demand, and they'll say, oh, these many schools calls, or we've done this, and how are we going to do all of this? And I'm like, well, this is the demand. So now we've got to figure out how can we most effectively supply the supports for the demand that we're getting.
And how do you help educators then learn the new strategies so the families will feel welcome and able to participate in their child's education?
We provide a lot of supports and technical assistance and coaching. Initially, we work with the willing, those principals and teachers who felt like they were at a point where they really wanted to move forward and they needed some supports. Now what we do is we hold up the effective practice that exists in our district. We don't have to look outside of our district. And we're really doing professional development that is very targeted to the educator evaluation system in Massachusetts that really helps teachers look at the way that they engage families in student learning, and looking at the ways that they communicate. So we're really targeting our professional development so that we're building that level of proficiency for our educators.
Okay. And your current challenge is measuring the impact. How are you preparing to measure the impact of all the parent engagement that's going on?
Yeah, a lot of times districts, when we start this work, we're so anxious to get out there and do the work that we know of the anecdotes, the changes, the transformations with principals, with teachers, with parents. And we haven't taken the time to really step back and measure. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last year is to really identify some key indicators to measure parent efficacy, teacher efficacy, student efficacy around student learning. So we're really looking at what does it look like? What does effective practice look like? And then how do you measure the impact of that?
Wonderful. And where do you think districts should begin if they want to reassess how they promote family engagement?
Yeah, I think that really doing an environmental scan, doing a scan of a national scan to look at engagement practice across the country. There are some absolutely amazing things happening across the country with my colleagues. And then really coming back to your district and not just picking up and doing a cookie cutter. We like Parent University the way they did it in Boston, so we're going to do it here. It's about going back to your district and doing an inventory. Every district has some family engagement going on in some kind of way. Really doing a deep inventory on where is it happening? Where is it happening well? And then really looking at your capacity. What capacity does your district already have to begin to do some of this work? Some folks will have to start at a different level. Some have high level of capacity. You've got to really base your strategies on what you have in place and what your capacity is, and then focus on building from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michelle. I would like to let the audience know here and on live stream that Michelle has been kind enough to say she'll answer questions at lunch, so please send in any questions you may have, or grab Michelle at lunch and she'll answer your questions. Please join me in thanking Michelle for her wonderful comments.
Thank you.